Okay. You guys see the whole screen or just part of the screen? All right, so we'll start off with, actually I want to start off with the ACGME website. So this is, if you go to the acgme.org, let's just go there real quick. If you go here, and if you go up to this top right corner where it says ADS, you can click on the accreditation data system, or I'm sorry, institution and finder, and that brings you to this page. And then you can find ACGME accredited programs. What I've personally been using is this list of newly accredited programs because I'm interested in residencies that are just forming for this year. So if you wanted to do that, you come in here and you click your specialty, anesthesia, you want to see them for 2025, 2026. So that's the ones that will have their first class in 2025. You click view report, generates a report. That's how you use that resource. Just walking you through how to find that. So you can program search here. This is where you can search through specialty, click whatever you want to dermatology, and then you can click search or sometimes this is weird, but I've only used it to do the new programs. Let's move on to what we use for actual residency program information, which is the AAMC Residency Explorer. You come in here, you have to sign in, you have to have an account. And server, I don't know what that is. Let me refresh it because I had this all ready to go. And of course, it's not going to work.
You were logged in too, Brian.
I was logged in too much. Here we go. So this is the landing page. You can click explore programs. You can click up here. You'll have to set like which area you want to explore. So this is what it looks like. You can pick your specialty. Let's do internal medicine categorical. Click continue. Then we'll explore programs. We'll see what it actually looks like. So here you can filter it out by states. You can filter it out by region. These are the regions that are in your ERAS application as well. So they do correlate to the states that fall within these regions. So like, I think South Atlantic covers almost the whole East Coast from like Maryland down all the way through Florida, I think. So you can correlate those with the states. You can do it by zip code. You can do it by whether or not they take J1 visas. If you click that, now we just see programs that accept J1 visas. You can see whether or not they're actually participating in the signals or not. That's a really hot topic for this application cycle, which is signaling. But let's just click in here. One of the biggest tools that I found was being able to sort it by US IMGs. You just click it twice and then you can see that Larkin Community Hospital in Florida takes 91% US IMGs. So let's look at that program a little bit more. This is the basic information of the program is given at the top here with the ACGME program code, which will help you find it in ERAS sometimes if it doesn't pop up immediately. So you can see they have a total of 22 spots, 8 PGY1. And you can see what they participate in with ERAS, the match. It was accredited in 2022. So it's still a relatively newish program, only been around for going into their third year. So you can see the number of applicants was 1,500. And keep going down here. This is where it talks about signaling information. This is just, it's not specific to this program, I don't think. I think it's just internal medicine. So out of internal medicine, it shows you that if you sent a signal, you were like 33% more likely to get an interview offer. And if you did not send a signal, you're only like 15% chance to get an interview offer. This graph over here shows you how geographic preference plays into it. There is a little bit of play with the geographic preference. Some programs like factor it in, some say it's not important. But the signaling is really important, because if you signal a program, I think internal medicine just went to a 2-tiered system where you have gold and silvers for this cycle. So that means you only have like 3 gold signals in internal, I think. So if you don't gold signal a program, that means they know that they're number 4 for you. And if you don't send a signal at all, then they know that they're not even in your top list of however many signals you get. Anesthesia gets 5 golds and 10 silvers. So if I don't signal a program, they know that they're number 16 on my list. And that does play into people's minds when they are selecting people. So you really research the programs and use your signaling wisely is all I'm saying on that. So if we move down further, we can see applicant information where it talks about whether or not they have to have step 1. I think everyone says you have to have step 1. Some places want a minimum step 2 score that would show up here. Other places leave it blank and just say you have to take step 2, or they don't report that information to Residency Explorer. You can see here it talks about visa information where it says J1 sponsorship through ECFMG, and then they don't accept these other visas. This is for, I think Comlex is the Canadian test, right, Javier?
Yes.
So this is for our Canadian friends here. If you take this, then you can use this information if you do this instead of steps. But then we go down even further. We have salary and benefits. This is how much you make, how much time you have off, free parking, and then average hours worked. 60 a week. You have 24 hours maximum. So that means you have a call day of 24 hours here. You can't moonlight. This is really important for some people. Moonlighting is being able to practice outside of your normal scheduled residency hours, and you usually get paid, anywhere from $50 to $100 an hour during moonlighting. Some places will let you moonlight after a certain year, after like PGY1. They may say you can moonlight and you can work hours. Now those hours that you do moonlight do count towards your ACGME 80 hours a week, but being able to make extra money in residency is huge. Then we keep going down. We have just more education benefits. This one doesn't have too much in here, but it will show up if you get like, if they put it in, you see like fellow retreats or electronic information, like computers. They give the residents computers and cell phones and stuff. That'll show up here as well. If we keep going down, you can break it down with demographics. Or this is in Florida, so I think that some of the programs down there prefer you to actually speak Spanish, especially down in Miami. There was one that's like, I think it's Mount Sinai in Miami Beach. It's a very heavily Spanish population. And if you can speak 2 languages, it will go very far in places like that. So keep that in mind to where you apply to. Lean on your strengths. And one of those strengths is having a dual language. If you can do it, that's a huge benefit. You can see here 59% are US citizen IMGs, with 32% being non-US citizen IMGs. So this program is extremely IMG friendly. And then you can see where they came from their universities. So that's just one example. Let's jump over to this section here. It talks about like why to use the Residency Explorer, some new things that are with it. So you can see interview data, which is the graphs that I showed you. You can see program signaling and geographic alignment, also with the graphs that I showed you. There's a way that you can compare yourself to other applicants as well. I was trying to figure that out because it's new. I haven't figured that out yet. Because if we come here and look at this at like California, UC Davis, there's not a breakdown. of like what people's scores were and how you can compare yourself to them. It used to be here. There used to be a column here. Let me get back to the home or out here. You used to have a column here to where you can actually put your test scores in, and it would show you your test scores, your research, your work history. It would all compare you to the people who matched, but they did away with that like 2 cycles ago, and it hasn't come back yet. Uh, I don't know what they're talking about when they say that you can compare yourself to other people. And that's this personalized profile comparison. I'm not familiar with that one, so I apologize. I can't speak on that topic. Any questions about a Residency Explorer? Be happy to answer those. Feel free to raise your hand, put it in chat.
I have a question about the signaling. So what's
About
the
signaling,
actual,
yeah.
what's the actual benefit? Because as you said, like they will know if you're not choosing them, right? But then what's the good purpose of it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The purpose of signaling is to, send your interest to the school saying, I am really interested in coming here. We'll use anesthesia because I know the most about their signaling. It's a 2-tiered system. There's five gold signals, 10 silver signals. So the 5 gold signals, you say like, you're my top 5. I want to come to one of these residency programs. There are other programs that don't have the 2-tiered. They just have the emergency medicine, I think, has 5. That's all they have. So in those 5 signals, you have to pick out the 5 top programs that you want to signal to. And I've listened to a lot of podcasts that interview program directors, and they say that the signaling causes them to look at potential candidates that they normally wouldn't have looked at. So if your application's not as strong, but you want to go there, I'm not saying use it on a reach program, but let's say like I would really like to go to Cleveland Clinic, but you didn't rotate there, but you're from the area, whatever, you want to go there for whatever reason, and you apply, you signal them, they might take a better look at your application because you signal them instead of just screening you out for another reason. It does carry weight with the program directors and how they select their signaling. To be more specific with you, with anesthesia, I can't speak on internal, but with anesthesia, last year, what was it, 55 to 65% of interviews were given to a gold signal, and then 25 to 30% were given to a silver signal. And if you do the math, that means there were not many interviews given out to people who didn't use the signal. So they're really important for that.
Yeah, I would echo exactly what Ryan said. From from the experience that I've had of my students that are now residents from my previous institutions that are now part of the interview process and help their program directors with the interview process. The majority of say that if you don't signal, you're not even getting looked at, because it's telling program directors that, for example, with specialties that may have 5 signals, if you didn't signal them, technically they were your 6th choice, because you didn't use one of the signals for their program. And so, yeah, everything what Ryan said is completely accurate. The other advice that I would have for signals is, just like Ryan mentioned, don't use it for reach programs. Those signals should be used for programs that you have a chance and a good opportunity to match there, and you want to go there. Those are the 2 main criteria with using your signals. You don't want to use it for reach programs because it's a waste. It's going to be a waste of a signal for you to use that.
I would agree. It's a higher chance that that's going to be a waste of a signal for sure. Don't want to 100% discourage anyone, but just keep in mind that if you use the signal for that, there's a very high chance that it's going to be a waste and you won't get there. That's all.
That's perfect. Thank you. Just one quick question. So if I rank, let's say my top 3, and No, you said we get to start up to how many? 5, you said?
That's dependent on your specialty. Each specialty has
All
different
right,
things. Let me pull up the specialty signal.
So my question is, what
Um,
happens if your ranking order is not the same as your signaling choices?
that doesn't, that plays into like, you know, the match algorithm and stuff, right? Because you're talking about that at that point. You're making your rank list, and how does that go with your signaling? You kind of have to separate the two. So your signaling is used for interviews, and then based off your interviews and how your interviews go and how you feel like you've jived well with the residency program, how you've done in the interview, then you make your rank list.
Correct.
So just the signals are just to get you in the interview.
Correct.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
And I've got up on the screen here right now, this is from the ACGMA website. This is the signals for each specialty that you have. So like I said, anesthesia has 5 and 10. Internal just went to 3 and 2, or 3 and 12. So you have a total of 15 signals for internal. Emergency medicine went down from 7 to 5. They had a decrease. And it looks like diagnostic radiology, interventional radiology went to a 2-tiered system this year as well. A lot of them have 5 though. It looks like psychiatry expanded a little bit from last year. And then, all right, so any other questions about signaling, Residency Explorer, open field, if you have any questions about that? All right, we'll move on to FREIDA. This is the other Residency Explorer tool. It's by the AMA, which you can see down at the bottom here. You can sign up for it for free. Putting in the school is a little tricky. I didn't put the school in because they don't have an option for like international schools. I just selected a school in the state that I'm from, and they signed me up. Just being honest, because I was like, let's see what happens. The worst they can say is no, and I have to sign up again, right? But I got signed up. So this is what it looks like when you drop here. You can click sign in. We'll just sign in on my account so we can see everything. Of course, my internet's being slow. So while that's loading, we'll talk about here. This is preparing for residency journey. It's a road to residency guide that is available in FREIDA, and it talks about, if you can see right here, before June, June through August, September through February, February through March. It gives you like what you should be doing during these months, right? And so this was before June. We should have already done this. This is your ACGME, like to make sure your program meets all this. We did our what was it, our MSPE filing with the OCA. We said we need our MSPE deadline. We did our personal or noteworthy characteristics and got all that submitted. That's what we needed to do in June. There are specifics for the IMGs that we have to do. You can find that at the ECFMG website. It talks about pathways and then ECFMG certification, which are 2 different things. The pathways is part of the ECFMG certification, but you cannot finish your ECFMG certification until after you graduate, and that's because you have to submit your diploma for ECFMG to certify. Just wanted to make that distinction. So if you come across a residency that says that you have to have your ECFMG certification to be considered for an interview, that is not really meant for you. That's meant for international medical graduates who are doctors in another country that want to come to the United States and want to go through residency program, but they have already finished school, right? So they want them to have their ECFMG certification. These residency programs understand that you're still in school. They see it on your MSPE comment that you're still enrolled and your graduation date is in March or April or whenever it is, right? So they see that and they understand that you can't have your ECFMG certification because you're still in school. Also wanted to make that point. But let's jump to June to August. So this is what we should be doing now, which is research and preparation. That's why we're having this event. We have the FREIDA database where they have 13,000 ACGME accredited residency program. And then there's this residency calculator too. Let's go back to this. Let's go sign in here. But we'll get signed into the database, and while that's loading, let's talk about. Oops. Here we go. So as you can see, it looks a lot like the Residency Explorer, right? But there are some differences. If you see this first listing right here that just says Brookwood Baptist, it says expanded listing. And this one down here, it doesn't say expanded listing. And we'll compare the two. So let's open that in a new tab and open that one. But we'll let those load and I'll show you the difference between the two. So this is the non-expanded listing. As you can see, it just tells you how long the training is, if they're accepting applications, and then the program start date, and then a link to it. And it doesn't really tell you anything else. Life and Culture gives you a breakdown of like what it might cost to live there, which is probably not accurate from inflation. So let's go to the other one, and you can see the expanded section has all these different tabs to it. It's very similar to the Residency Explorer. So you can get information here. It talks about, get that out of the way. So how many positions there are for first year? There's 5, and then only 10 second year. So what that means is they probably have transitional years built into this program. Or I'm sorry, preliminary, not transition, preliminary tracks. So they have 10 categorical and 5 preliminary is what I would have to assume based off that. You can see here, required previous GME. This means like if it's a fellowship or an advanced residency program like anesthesia. Some anesthesia programs you match into the advanced track, which requires previous GME, meaning that you have to complete a preliminary year or a transitional year. Your intern year has to be done, and some of those programs you have to do it in another place, and then you get in. So, a lot of same information here. You know, date for applications, interview period, may be listed over here, it may not. It's still kind of early for some of the programs. They don't have all their stuff in yet. By the end of the month, they should. And then we have a breakdown for their step scores. It says a minimum 200 on step 1, minimum 200 on step 2. And then you also have the pass fail. So you must have passed step 1 to be considered. And then this is touch on the other thing where it says, like, you know, you have to have ECFMG certified. You'll see here it says PGY1 applicants, you must have graduated within the past year, 2 years, or this one says 3 years, right? So those are for those IMGs come in who have already been practicing after school and stuff. In another country. Let's see here. And if you have a gap year, this one wants you to have clinical experience in the US. You can see visa status, you can see work schedule, very similar to the other one. You can see percentage of US IMG, or I'm sorry, you can see percentage of IMGs. That's a big difference between Residency Explorer and this one, is that you can't see US IMGs. You just see IMGs, so you don't know like who you're dealing with. Some programs kind of varies on if they like US IMGs or if they like IMGs, you know. So it is nice that Residency Explorer splits that and FREIDA doesn't, just so you're aware. So I would kind of use both of them to build your list. Like if you have an area you want to be in, search the area. If you can't find the information on Residency Explorer, see if you can find it on FREIDA. Go and then go from there. You can see salary information, you can see medical benefits. All this is extra stuff that's not found on Residency Explorer. They don't tell you about the benefits. They don't tell you about employment policies and meal allowance. Most of this information is not on Residency Explorer. And then you can do life and culture. This one breaks down safety, healthcare, climate, gives you an estimated cost of living for a family versus a single person. And then, of course, you got the program director and contact information, everything. So this, I just wanted to highlight that this is the other tool that you can use. If you join, you get more benefits. You get to open up and like compare programs and stuff, but you don't have to join. You can use it for free and still have this access to all the information. You can come to search program, you can do specialty, you can just do internal medicine if you want, and it'll pop up. You can search combined residencies. You can search by the map. So if you want to be in one area, you can be like, oh, I just want to check out Philadelphia. You can zoom in, and my internet's slow, but it should pop up. Back to the list. If you scroll down here on the left side, you can filter it out by location. You can see here that these locations are the ones that are listed on your ERAS application, or your regions for your geographic preference as well. So you can match those up. And the best thing you want to do is match up your signaling and your geographic location. That'll give you like the highest chance of getting an interview. Remember, those signalings are just to try to get you an interview. You can check out application type. There's different match things like the San Francisco match, and there's some programs that don't participate in match. Some programs don't participate in signaling either. So you can filter out the ones that don't participate in signaling and then still apply to those, because if they're not participating in signaling, they don't know if they don't know where they stand on your list, right? So there's no disadvantage to applying to the programs that are not accepting signaling. And then you can apply more filters. So if you want to set an IMG rate, let's set a minimum of, let's like do 25%. So this means every program that's listed on here takes a minimum of 25%. Sorry, I did DOs. Let's do IMGs. 26% minimum of their residents are IMGs for all of these programs. So that's another way you can search for that. And that's pretty much FREIDA. It's basically the same as Residency Explorer, but you can find additional information that's not. So you got to kind of bounce between the two. Any questions on FREIDA?
I have a quick question. I might have misheard. Did you say that FREIDA had some sort of calculator or something on the first page?
Yeah.
Let's go to the what does it calculate?
Sure. Let's walk through it real quick. So this gives you an estimate of what it's going to cost to go to apply to match, right? So let's click this. Let's begin. How many specialties are we going to apply to? Let's say we're going to apply to one specialty. Like I just want to do internal medicine. And then how many programs are we going to apply to? Well, Ross recommends 100 to 150. So let's do 125. I feel like that's grossly overestimated now because of signaling and the importance of signaling, but I'm going with what OCA has suggested. So we are going to upload our USMLE transcript. We're not going to do a complex. We are going to do a match registration fee. How many programs are we going to rank? Let's say we're going to rank 30 programs. That's a lot, but couples match, no, we're not participating. Couples match, next. Virtual interviews, yeah. I think most specialties have advised people to do virtual interviews. Now that's not a guarantee that they won't offer an in-person interview, but they've also been advised that if someone takes an in-person interview, that should not be held in more favor or less favor as someone who did a virtual interview. They're not supposed to favor people because of that. Let's click next here. And this is the estimated cost of application and match fees. So if I was going to do 125 places, it would be $3,169.
Thank you for walking me through that. That's a lot. Thank you.
I meant to do it anyways, and I had forgotten to do it, so I was happy to do that. Any other questions? Before we move on, there's two other ones that I kind of want to just highlight real quick. All right, there's no questions. There is kind of the same thing for Doximity. It's relatively new. I wouldn't recommend using it just because it's so new. I don't know much about it. FREIDA and Residency Explorer are going to have your best information, because even if we like click here, there's not a lot of information here, right? You've got some ratings, you've got email information, 24 positions. You can see how they rank on the work hours, and then you can see current residents. But that's it. You don't really get much information from this like you do from FREIDA. You can't break it down for IMGs or anything like that. So let's just close that one. Now, family medicine has a match tool. So if you're interested in family medicine, you should go to the AAFP. That is the Family Medicine Organization. You can join. I think it's free for students to join. So join. You can get the match tool, and you can download it to your phone. And I don't know much about it. I just wanted to highlight that there is a family medicine match tool, and students should at least check it out. I can't see it because I'm not a member of the AAFP. And then there's one other one. This one. So this is the emergency medicine match site, right? This EMRA match. So this has all the emergency medicine residencies in it. So you can, if you're interested in emergency medicine, you can come here. It's highly specific to that specialty. We'll walk through this real quick. You can get some extra information from here that may not be on the other sites. So it tells you if you can, shift links, moonlighting, all the basic information's up at the top. It tells you that 38% of your first year is off service, meaning that you're not in the emergency department for that one. And then you have your electives weeks there. Yeah. It does have percent IMGs here, so that's good. I haven't used this one, but a lot of my friends who've done emergency medicine, they say EMRA is a great resource to use. So if you're interested in emergency medicine, check out this website as well, this resource. Use it in combination with Residency Explorer and or FREIDA when you're doing your research. That's all I really have. Javier, do you have anything else? Anything I didn't touch on?
No, you did a great job.
I don't know where screen sharing went. Oh, there it is. Stop screen sharing. There we go. Okay. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask anything. It doesn't have to be, Residency Explorer specific. It can be anything about ERAS, anything about match, anything about electives, open floor, or whatever you need. I think Javier and I can either answer your question or point you to where you need to go.
I have another question. Go ahead.
We'll let, yeah, I'm gonna mispronounce your name, but I think it's Faria.
Yeah, FREIDA. So I noticed that totally not about this, but I noticed on Reddit people had these Excel sheets and they had their program there and then comparisons and stuff like that. I guess I just wanted to start setting up my Excel sheet. Would you have any suggestions on how it should be set up when you're making your list, actually making the list, and what things to look for? Because I've seen different variations, but I just want something that's simple and I guess, looking for the right things?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Like, how do I keep track of what's going on in my interviews and where I'm, you got to keep track of what you like about the place and what you don't like about the place, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let me see if I can find.
Oh,
I
like
started
I seen
building.
one on Reddit and it was like, oh, like there was like a comment section besides some programs. Oh, someone said that this person, that like this program's toxic, or this is that, or like there's just like wrote like little comments after their interview to like how they got a feel for it, and they were like, no, this is a no. But I guess just like for like the program list, like what should I be actually like looking for?
Let me try to find the
Mhm.
sheet that I'll share with you. I can't remember if it's in Google or Excel, but
Thank you.
so let me share this. I found this on the internet. I did not make it, so, but I'm
Mhm.
kind of like manipulating it for myself. Okay. So you can see here, this is a residency tracker dashboard. You don't have to deal with that if you don't want to, but this is, the residency name. It's got the website, the city, the state. You can do all this, but then you can come out here and you can, let's expand it a little more here. So you can see if it's put your salary in, because that's an important, you want to track how much you made, whether or not, like what your call schedule is. How do they do call? Is it, do you have to do night call 3 days a week or 3 times a month or what, right? So that's a big thing to factor in. Consider your lifestyle and whether or not you want to go somewhere where you have to take a bunch of calls. Some places, PGY1, you don't take any call, which is
Okay.
nice.
Okay. Okay.
You also, depending on your specialty, let's use internal medicine, for example, how they do their rotations, right? So they'll have where you have to work on your wards, right? I don't know what you're interested in, but just picking up internal, you
Yeah.
have to work on so on the floor, people will do like you either do 4 weeks on and 1 week off, or 4 weeks on and 2 weeks off, right? Or, so that's important to know. Am I a 4-1 or am I a 4-2, right?
Got it. Okay.
Also I would keep track of their EMR. What EMR do they use? Is it Epic? Is it Meditech? Is it Cerner? Is it one that I absolutely hate and don't want to have to deal with? That can influence your decision a little bit. You laugh at that, but man, some of these are horrible.
I know, like the one at Ascension, I think it's Cerner. It's just horrible. I don't like it.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's see, what else would I keep track of? I would keep track of keep track of your interview date, keep track of what you talked about in the interview as well. Whether or not you liked the residents at the resident meet and greet.
Okay.
Because you'll have a meet and greet and then you'll have your interview, which are two separate things, right?
Got
The
it.
meet and greet will give you a chance to see how well you can just kind of talk with the residents and get a feel of what's going on. I know some people went to the meet and greet and they were like, I didn't like the residents at all. So that dropped them because they were like initially interested in the program. They went to the meet and greet and the residents were bragging about like how many hours they worked and how they were just cramped together in the emergency room and bragging that they worked, like 70 hours one week. And the person was like, I don't like them and I don't want to go there anymore. So,
Oh wow. Okay.
um,
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you. Is there any way you could share this, or I guess I could just
yeah,
have a quick
yeah,
look
I'll
here.
share it with you. I will put it on, let me see.
What's this dashboard thing like? Is that just showing like how many places you applied to, or
Like
like a little
the
map of the
dashboard, this tracks this here, like applications submitted. So if I do like
Oh, that's
interviews,
so cool.
if I come back here, it changes the color to blue now,
Okay, I definitely need
right?
this tracker.
Yeah, that's why I really got it, was for this. I saw this, and I was like, oh, this is really nice. This will help keep it organized. And then you can, of course, customize all of your columns over here. So
That's
I'll tell you what, I will put the link to this, or I will find the blank one and then put a link to it to download, either in the community WhatsApp or
yes,
on the
please. I
CS.
actually like this one. It's like easy to read and I understand the system because I've seen a couple, but it was just so overwhelming. I'm like, that's a lot of like cells to like fill. But this
Yeah,
one's like short and sweet. So like, yeah, I'd
it
appreciate
is.
that.
Um, and I like being able to track it here.
Yeah.
It does have this option that's not working. I don't know how to get it to work. It seemed like it was really cool. What it would do is like we would put in the city and the state, and then it would search this website and pull this medium house costs. And so you would know like how much it would cost. But
Oh, wow.
that would be cool if it worked. But
That would have been actually pretty cool.
yeah, like I said, I'll put it in the community chat. I'll make an announcement so everyone can have access to it and say, hey, if you want a tracker for your interviews and stuff.
Yeah, that actually would, I think, help everybody because I met another student and they're tracking it in like, their notebook. And I'm just like, it's a lot of
Yeah,
notes, man. Like, I don't think I could do that. So this is
yeah,
good. I'm definitely going to be doing this.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can do that. Let's see, we had a question from Kathleen that says, can you please go over transitional, categorical, and preliminary? Sure. So those are three different types of residencies. If you get a categorical position, that means that you matched into the program for the entire duration of the residency. So if it's internal, it's 3 years. If it's anesthesia, which normally you have to do an intern year and then 3 years after that, in anesthesia, if it's categorical, that means the intern year is built into that program. So you don't have to match into a preliminary spot or a transitional year somewhere else. So that launches us into transitional and preliminary. Transitional year is designed for specialties kind of like anesthesia, where you have to go somewhere, you have to do a intern year, or let's say you were gung ho and set on surgery, you wanted to do surgery from day one, you do surgery, you get to your last elective rotation and you do emergency medicine and you're like, I don't want to do surgery anymore. But you've already gone through the interview process and you can't change anything, but you don't want to do surgery, right? Well, you can get into a transitional year and then you can go back and go into whatever you want after that. I know someone who did that. They used their transitional year to actually get into the specialty that they wanted because they'd already gone through interviews and match, and they didn't want a chance soap versus transitional year, I guess. Transitional year is just a 1-year program, and then you would reapply next match cycle. And then preliminary is very similar to that. You see that used a lot in surgery and internal medicine, largely used for people who don't match categorical in surgery, or like anesthesia can do a prelim in surgery as well for their intern year if you want to be more that route versus internal medicine. But it's a 1-year contract as well. After that, you have to go back through the match cycle. Let's say you want to do surgery, you can do prelim surgery and then you can match categorical next year, or they can keep you on and bring you in categorical if you go prelim and just rock it. And they're like, okay, you're great, we want to keep you. Most programs have maybe 1-2 spots that they will open up and keep for their prelims. Some don't. Some have preliminary spots and they don't keep any. So, but it does give you a spot that you can secure, and then you can go back and match to the match process again. A very important thing to note is that the transitional year and the preliminary year do not count against your total years of what you get funded for. So when you match into, let's say, internal medicine residency, your hospital is funded for your residency for 3 years. So if you go and you're like, I really don't want to do internal, you want to switch, you can try to switch residencies. Let's say you can't do that, but you would need to switch into one that would accept the financial cost of the extra year. So if you go from internal to surgery, for example, they would have to be willing to pay you for the last 2 years because they're not going to get reimbursed from the government for that, which can make it a little more difficult. But if you do prelim and transitional year, they don't count against your years for that. So if you go back and match the next year and you match into surgery, you get all 5 years paid for. Nicole?
Yeah, it was like a general question. When we're like researching programs and also for Javier, what are some of the common mistakes from people who don't match at Ross?
That's a tough question for me because I don't really know for sure, so I don't have access to like people who don't match. That'd be great for OCA. They're not here. I can give my best guess, educated guess at it. I talked to some people last year. They didn't understand the importance of signaling. One person, they were trying to match emergency medicine. They told me they used 5 of their signals for reach programs. And it's like, well, you can't really do that because they didn't understand the signaling. They didn't understand the importance of it, right? They were like, oh, I want to go here. I'm not very, it's a reach, but I'll apply and signal because I'd like to go there. I think that worked against them. That being said, they may still have matched in emergency medicine just because of how that field is right now and how it was. 2 years ago, they had 500 spots, over 500 spots that went into SOAP. So they're a little more lenient last year. That's like, okay, you didn't signal us, but we're still going to interview you. I think they're, as you can see, or as I said, they decreased from 7 to 5. So that particular one is probably going to get more stringent because they also had like 170 that went into SOAP this past year. So they went from 550 to 170. So it's a big decrease in the amount of SOAP. Other things that people probably mess up on, I would say creating your match list appropriately, your rank list, which is really big. You really have to sit with your interviews and really think about which interviews did I really like, did I really feel like I did well in, and it's a place that I want to go, right? Don't try to guess. Don't say, oh, I know I killed this interview, but I don't really want to go there. If you don't want to go there, don't rank it, right? Everyone says that. If you don't want to go there, you don't really like the program, don't rank it. You want to match up that you want to go there, you had a really good interview, you like the residents, rank it high. Some people will try to guess the algorithm, and that can really mess you up too. Other ones would be probably, I can't really think of other ones.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with what Ryan said. We don't obtain that information, and so we don't really know specific reasons why someone wouldn't match. But I would advise you to, throughout the entire process, be reaching out to OCA and have that advisement from them, because if you are doing well if you did well in your core clerkships and you're doing well in your electives. Sometimes it's just a matter of you didn't rank, like Ryan said, you didn't rank your programs the correct way. You didn't signal your programs properly. There can be lots of factors as to why someone doesn't match. And again, we don't have that specific information as far as why Ross students in the past cycle didn't match. But yeah, it's really important and that's another reason why we're having so many of these sessions and are making ourselves available as far as trying to bring in OCA and clinical advising to these sessions, is because they're really the experts in these topics, and so we want to make sure that they're available to you all throughout this entire process and giving you the appropriate information as you're going through the match process.
Yeah, and as Javier said, you can always lean up on them. You can send an email to set up conversations with the OCA department. They're happy to schedule something and talk with you about anything that you need. Some questions that were in the chat. I think someone asked if I gone through that match cycle. I've not gone through match. I'm matching with all of you guys. I helped some people through it last cycle, and I did a lot of research in preparation for this as well. But you're happy to ask me any questions. You send me emails, help you out the best I can. We have another question from the chat that said, can I explain the pros and cons of SOAP? There's the con of SOAP is that you didn't match. That's the biggest con, right? If you participate in SOAP, that means the Monday morning before match week, you got your email and it said, we're sorry you didn't match, right? I'm not going to go into the specifics of what you need to do for the SOAP process. There'll be another webinar, another presentation for all of that. But briefly, I will explain the SOAP process. Just means you didn't match. The pro is that it gives you another chance to secure a position outside of match through a systematic way of interviewing, just like the match process. Very quickly, like I said, you'll have one day to where you can redo your application, get new letters, submit letters through the R1 system, I think, whatever they use for match. And then, because you might need different letters. Let's say you tried to match anesthesia, you didn't match, and now you're going to SOAP, but there's no spots in anesthesia, right? So you might want to try to SOAP into a transitional year or a preliminary year. So you may need to change your letters of recommendation. So you can upload new letters of recommendation. You can upload a new personal statement, and then you get the programs released to you of all their information of how many spots there are open at each program for each specialty. And then you can pick and choose. You get to pick 45 of them. You don't get to pick any more than that. And then you submit your application, and then over 2 days, you are in waiting mode and constant anxiety because you wait for the programs to call you and ask you to interview with them. And it's usually like a quick phone interview or video interview. And then on Thursday, they do rounds of SOAP. There's 4 rounds of SOAP. Yep. You get offers, you get an hour, I think, to accept or decline, and then it moves into the next round. The 2 hours?
2 hours per round.
2 hours per round, right? And then it moves into the next round. And there's three rounds, right? 3 rounds of it.
There's 4 rounds total.
4 rounds of SOAP, and then after that, you know where you're going, and then that's it, right? Because then you know where you're going for residency. And then after SOAP, it's also the wild west of securing a position, because once SOAP is over, you can contact programs directly. You can follow up with them. You can have contacts elsewhere who say, oh, we have a spot here. Then you can contact them, send them all your information. There's no hold bars after that. You can finally contact the programs and reach out about positions. There's also a great department, OCA and Dr. Neko also make themselves available, and all kinds of resources for the raw students to like drop into Zoom meetings during that week to help out with things too. There'll be, like I said, there'll be another presentation on all that, but that's the real quick rundown of SOAP.
Yeah, that's completely right. And I mean, the only thing that I would say, and probably the most important thing that I would say about that is if you open up that email on Monday morning and you are in the unfortunate case that you didn't match, I think the first thing that you have to do is take just some time for yourself and just compose yourself and really bring yourself back down to earth, because we understand that it's not the email that you wanted to get. You've been working very, very hard your entire time to get through medical school, and then you get the email that you have to SOAP. But like Ryan mentioned, there's going to be another one of these sessions where we go through specifically what happens during SOAP, the resources that are available. He mentioned like having to rewrite personal statements and letters of recommendation. All of those things you will have help with. OCA and the clinical ATL with Dr. Neko, like Ryan mentioned, are all there available. There's also faculty and clinical chairs that are available to you that entire week to help you and make sure that the programs that are still available and taking applicants you can have access to them, and they will advise you as to what you need to do. Yeah, very um, there's very specific intricacies that happen for, and Ryan mentioned them. There's like 45 programs that you can apply to. There's all the rounds that happen on Thursday. But again, I think the most important thing is really just taking that time for yourself that Monday morning, and just making sure that you tell yourself that it's not the end of your journey, and this is not like, there are still many things that you can do and many resources that are available to you that will help you get that spot.
Yeah, just to echo a little bit what Javier said, like the match process is not a perfect process, right? It's a flawed system. They recognize that it's a little bit flawed, or they wouldn't have this SOAP process, right? Like the SOAP is there because they know people are not going to match, but they need to fill positions, right? So first of all, like he said, take a moment, gather yourself, uh, gather your support system too, because you're going to need some help
Yep.
getting through just searching programs and doing this. And I will say, just from being involved with the Ross community last cycle, the students are great. They offer to help everyone. They're like, if you need help with this, let me know. I will help you research programs. There was all kinds of people volunteering to help anyone who needed it. I think we have a really good community to help support each other for that. I anticipate that to happen again, to offer support for anyone who needs it from the students. And then as we discussed, there's always support from the school as well. Last thing I'm going to say on that topic, and then we'll move on, because we're all going to be positive, right? But recognizing that it's a flawed system, there were many people last year that were great candidates and didn't match. They had good scores, they had, research, and they didn't match for whatever reason, right? That can come down to not your scores. That can come down to your interviews, your personability, your holistic review of your application. All these things that these programs are trying to shift away from, other than just scores and research and all that. So just because you don't have 260 and 4 research articles doesn't mean that you're not going to match. You can match, and those people may not match. That's the point I was trying to make. Yeah, there was people that were 260, had like 6 research articles, and they were like, I don't know why I didn't match. I was following like Reddit threads last time. So, and they were US grads. Yeah. So I think residency programs are really taking a more holistic view and like really seeing whether or not they feel like this person is going to fit in my program, other than just test scores and research. Any other questions? I think I got all the ones in the chat. Happy to answer anything else while we're here. Yeah. You can always reach out to me. You can, email me at the CSGA president if you want. You can reach out to anyone in the CSGA. They can get you to the right spot if you need help with anything, okay? Yeah. Thanks everyone for coming. We'll go ahead and end it here since we don't have any more questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Have a good night.
Have a good night. How did the other room go, Alwyn?
Went pretty well. Answered all questions. But there was this one specific question. I think it was she just didn't know how to ask, so waited after everybody left. So it's basically signing up for electives at Kern or the Connecticut